looks good. As people come in, we'll definitely admit them into the meeting. But hello, everybody, and welcome to the How to Ride RTD for the City of Louisville and Town of Superior. My name is Sydney Lund, and I'm the Programs and Outreach Specialist at Commuting Solutions. And we're here today with RTD, Christina Zazueta, and then also representing the City of Louisville and the Town of Superior as well, are partners with us on this event tonight. And so here's our agenda for tonight. We're just going to do a little bit of introductions. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about regional commuting options within the region. And then I'll hand it over to Christina to talk about how to ride RTD. And then following her presentation, we'll have a Q&A session. So feel free as Christina is speaking or I'm speaking to leave those questions in the chat, and we'll definitely make sure that we are able to get to all of your questions during that Q&A session at the end. So if you have a question that comes up, feel free to keep it in the chat. I'll keep track of that, and then we can answer it during the Q&A session. And this meeting is being recorded, so we're gonna be posting it on YouTube just to make sure that other folks have an opportunity to see this educational resource. So I wanted to explain a little bit about Commuting Solutions. We are actually a nonprofit organization founded in 1998. We're located in Louisville, Colorado, and our work is connecting people to places in the Northwest Metro region today and for the future. So we do a lot of advocacy work around transportation investments. We also develop innovative services and programs, and then we also educate the public and employer about commuting options, and we do that through working with employers, co-hosting these how to ride events with RTD, and going out into the community and teaching people about how to ride RTD and doing rider appreciation events and different things like that. So a little bit about regional transportation infrastructure within the area, not related to RTD, but just some other infrastructure that is nearby Superior and Louisville that we wanted to let you all know about. The first one is the US 36 bikeway. It's an 18-mile bikeway. It goes from 80th Avenue in Westminster all the way up to the US 36 in Table Mesa Station. It's a great bike ride. You can use it for recreational purposes, or if you wanted to use it for commuting options, it's a great way. It's safe. It's just a bikeway, so just for bicyclists. There's no cars or anything on the road. It's right next to the US 36 highway. So it's a great option, straight shot from Boulder all the way into Westminster that folks can use for recreational purposes or commuting purposes as well. And you can see that as you're making your way up and down the US 36, either through the Flatiron Flyer. If you're driving in your own vehicle, you can see people kind of riding along the sides there. We also have a Bike Northwest map. We are partnering with a number of organizations and jurisdictions within our local service area in the Northwest Metro region, including Boulder, Boulder County, Broomfield, Longmont, Louisville, Superior, and Westminster. And it shows bicycling routes within the region. So it shows a lot of different routes. You can zoom in and out. It's interactive, and it's a really great way to see that bicycling infrastructure and bicycling routes, and a really great way to see what kind of options are available to get you to where you need to go. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the trip planner that we have with My Way to Go. Way to Go is a program through the Denver Regional Council of Governments. It's focused on getting people out of their cars and into more sustainable forms of transportation. And though My Way to Go is a platform, mywaytogo.org, and it allows you to compare modes of transportation throughout the region. So you put in your start and destination time, and from there you can see bicycling routes, carpools, van pools, transit routes, walking routes, and driving routes, and it can compare time and mileage, CO2 emissions saved, different things like that. And it also has a great way for you to find van pools and carpools within your area. So if you're looking to van pool or carpool for work or maybe for another activity, you can find partners in this website to be able to commute from around your start location to around your end location, and you can also post those van pools within there and carpools within there. And then we also do just little monthly giveaways to encourage people to log their trips. You can log your trips through this as well, and so you can see how many trips you've done and how many CO2 emissions you've saved, how much money you've saved by using those alternative forms of transportation. So this is just another great way to see all the options you have available for getting around and commuting within the metro region, and then to also find some van pool and carpool folks as well. And so with that, I'll hand it off to Christina from RTD to give an overview on how to ride RTD. So as I mentioned, if you do have any questions, feel free to just leave them in the chat. You can either send them to everybody or just to me, and I will see them and make sure that we get those questions asked. But right before I hand it off, I did want to do a quick poll, and since we're doing this in conjunction with 2 jurisdictions, just wanted to ask, which city do you reside or work in? The city of Louisville, the town of Superior, or if you don't reside in either of those, it's definitely okay. You can press other, and we'll be talking about information that's related to the region. So I'll just give folks a few seconds to answer that, and then we can head on over to the RTD's presentation. And awesome, great. We're just waiting on a few more folks, I think, to give their answers. So I'll just give you about 20 more seconds here. Okay, awesome. Looks like we have most of our folks from the town of Superior, and we'll be including information about that, but that's just a great way to help us to know kind of who we're talking to and where you all are located. So thank you for participating in that poll, and without further ado, I'll hand it off to Christina to give the How to Ride presentation.
Great, thank you, Sydney, for conducting that poll, and now we know who we have in our audience. My name is Christina Zazueta. I'm the Community Engagement Manager with RTD, and tonight I'm going to be going through the basics on how to ride. I'll be covering some of the more detailed tips and tricks on what you need to know as you plan your trip along RTD routes, what you could do with parking, and then going through some of the apps that we have as well available. So before we start, I just want to thank our partners at Commuting Solutions and Superior and Louisville for putting this event on and for everyone to understand a little bit more about how to ride and use RTD. First slide, please. All right, before we start, I think it's really important for us to cover some of the actions that RTD has taken during COVID-19. Certainly it's changed how many of us do business, how we live our regular daily lives, and certainly public transit is no exception. We are cleaning our vehicles every evening and making sure that we are using the approved cleaners to kill viruses and bacterias. We have also invested in some equipment that helps vaporize, if you will, the cleaners so that it could get into the harder to reach places and make the cleaners more effective. We've installed some clear barriers, kind of like a plexiglass on our buses, and that's installed between the driver and where you would board onto a bus. And again, that just adds a little extra layer of protection between the operator and anyone who is boarding a bus. We have been limiting the number of riders on our vehicles, and so for buses, it's 15 passengers on a standard bus, 20 on regular buses, and 30 on rail cars. And because we are doing this, we are staging additional buses along our routes where we see that there could be larger loads. So for example, in Denver, some of our popular routes are the 15 and the 16, and both of them have been experiencing a almost regular type of ridership. And so what we'll do is stage additional vehicles along those routes. When they get full, the bus driver or street supervisor staged along the route could call in the additional vehicles. Next slide, please. All right, and as we are doing all these things to make sure that our vehicles are clean and we're encouraging social distancing, we ask everybody to also join us in being our partners in safety. And what that means is, of course, just like everywhere else, we are requiring face masks and face coverings when you are riding RTD services. And continue to use proper hygiene, wash hands, use hand sanitizer, and sneeze or cough into your sleeve if you need to. And if you do see a vehicle that looks like it's pretty full and above the capacities that I just mentioned on the previous slide, we ask that you don't board that. Please use your judgment and look at what the passenger load looks like. If it looks like it's too full, please wait for the next vehicle. Also, social distancing is everyone's responsibility, so we encourage everybody to perform social distancing on our vehicles and as best as they can. During this time, we have been doing some community outreach along with some of our partners, and this includes campaigns for wearing masks. We have distributed supplies like masks, sanitizers, and shared that with our riders just to, again, be out there, make sure we're getting the word out that the expectation is there that you should wear a mask. Next slide, please. All right, now I'll start going into the general details on how to ride with RTD. And first I'll start with the fare zones and how those are split up. You'll see here on the right-hand side that we've got a map. It's a little bit small, but you can find the very same map on our website at rtd-denver.com. And what the map is here to illustrate is there are 3 fare zones. And the gray, you'll see a slight gray area there in the middle, and that's just to add some contrast between the fare zones. So if you're looking to buy fare, there is a local, regional, and airport fare that it's broken out into. A local fare would be rail travel within 1 or 2 fare zones. It would include local or limited bus routes, local service on regional bus routes or SkyRide bus routes, and FlexRide service, which I'll explain what that is here in a little bit. And so a regional fare would be rail travel between 3 fare zones, and it would include regional bus routes. So if you're riding the full regional route, and SkyRide bus routes. There's also, again, like I mentioned, a airport fare, and that is rail travel to and from the airport fare zone, and also the SkyRide bus service into Denver International Airport. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the more in-depth detail of what our fares do look like. And you'll see at the top, it'll say local, regional, and airport bus and rail for each one of those. Now, drilling down a little bit more, you'll see that there's an adult regular fare, and then next to it, a senior disabled discount fare. And I just want to point out before I go down the list here, we do have discounts for seniors 65 and over, individuals with disabilities, as well as youth, anyone 19 years old or younger. All right, so I'll start just illustrating how we're going to read this chart, looking at the local bus and rail passes. The adult column there that you see, the first one listed is a 3-hour cash pass, and this pass is good for 3 hours. You don't have to get pay for transfers, and you can go in, you can make trips to and from any destination that you like within those 3 hours for that fare. So for example, in the past, we used to have a fare that you would have to pay a certain fare to go in one direction, and then when you're coming back on that same route, pay a different fare. We have eliminated that, and it's just 3 hours, so you can go one way and come back on that very same fare for as long as it's within the 3 hours. And you'll see that the senior / disabled discount is 50% there, so it would only be $1.50 for that very same 3-hour pass for someone who qualifies. We do have a MetroRide card that is available, and it also has the 3-hour pass available on the MetroRide card. And the MetroRide card is simply a reloadable card, just like it would be a Starbucks card, a gift card, or something like that, where you can load it with any denomination that you'd like, and then when that money's run out, you can go ahead and reload it. You can do that at local King Soopers, grocery stores, or sales outlets, as well as you can also go online and add that extra fare. The next fare on here is a day pass, and that's good all day, and it's $6 for an adult and $3 if you were to have a discount. And that's just for local. A regional all-day fare pass would be $10.50. I just want to point out that if you were going to the airport and you were confused between whether you needed a regional pass because the airport's a little further, or you need an airport fare, it's essentially the same price, and it's included in the regional fare if you're going to the airport. So it would be, as you can see in the chart here, included in regional fare, but that price is $10.50. We also have the physical tickets, the paper tickets, and those are in a 10-ride ticket book. and a whole 10-ride ticket book would be $28. We also have monthly passes, and you can pay for that. It'd just be $114. And again, we have discounts available on all these fares. Next slide, please. All right, so there are different ways, as I mentioned before, to pay for your fare. And so just to kind of give you some more details, the 3-hour cash pass, we call it a cash pass because a lot of people pay on the bus and they pay their bus driver for that pass. I would point out that if you are going that option and you're getting on a bus and want to pay for the 3-hour fare, you need to have exact change. The bus drivers don't have change, so be sure you're prepared with that as you board. And again, the 3-hour pass is good for unlimited trips within the same service level on any bus or train for those 3 hours. Again, we also have the day pass, and you can take unlimited bus and bus and train all day for the price of that and round trips. The MetroRide card does give you a discount, and it's, as I mentioned, preloaded fare that you can get put on a card, and it offers a 25-cent discount on full cash fare and 15-cent discounts on any fare that's already been discounted. So if you have a senior discount already, and now you're using a MetroRide card, you would get that additional 15 cents off. The passes and ticket books are also a good way to go if you're frequent riders and want to just get a paper booklet, and it's a good way to save time and money by pre-purchasing them, as well as the monthly pass. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is another way to purchase your fare. And this is the ticket vending machines that are located at every rail station and over on Flatiron Flyer stations. And this allows you to purchase the 3-hour passes that we just talked about, do some upgrades. So say you purchased a 3-hour pass and now you need to purchase a regional pass. You can buy day passes here, and you could use cash, credit card, or debit card. One tip that I like to point out here is when you're looking at these machines, right below where it says ticket and right above where it says welcome aboard, that blank little spot on this one, sometimes it will say cash only or it'll say credit/debit. And we usually have several machines around so that if you, for example, were in front of a cash one, there's usually one not too far away that says credit debit, but it's helpful to know what kind of payment is available before you either get in line or take the time to select your tickets by looking at the top there. You could purchase, again, tickets here in 5 easy steps. First, you would go to the touch screen and make your ticket selection by touching the black screen. Select your ticket type, and you would select the quantity of tickets that you'd like to purchase. And then it'll show you the payment amount for all that you have selected. So for example, you could get a regular pass and then add on a senior discount fare, and then at the end it'll give you the grand total, and then make your payment as I mentioned through the different options there, and then your ticket will be dispensed there at the bottom. And you'll also get change there, so don't forget to grab your change. Next slide, please. All right, so earlier I mentioned that you could get a MetroRide card, and there are other card options that we do have available that are out there. There are Eco Passes, Flex Passes, College Passes, and neighborhood Eco Passes, all that are different or available in different ways. So an Eco Pass might be available through your employer, certainly College Pass through certain schools, and they provide that option. And neighborhood Eco Passes are when neighborhoods get together to purchase the Eco Pass option. So if you have any of these cards, you do need to validate them before you use or get onto a vehicle. So you would first specify on the machine there whether it's a local, regional, or airport fare that you'd like to travel on, and then you go ahead and tap your card there in that little circle. And so on the left-hand side, that's the type of validator, smart card validator that you would see at a station or one of our platforms. And then on the right hand side, you can see that that's the one that you would see on a bus. So you again would just select local, regional, or airport and tap your fare there. And sometimes our bus drivers will ask you and go ahead and push the buttons for you and help you out if you're looking like maybe you haven't done it before, or just request that additional help. Next slide, please. All right, so here's a different kind of validator, and this is for any of the paper tickets that would come in a pre-purchased 10-ride ticket book. So any of the day passes that were also available in ticket form. And so you do need to validate those as well. And you simply go ahead and insert them into these validators. These look different than the ones I just showed for the smart cards. These are colored red with a V for validator at the top. And you would just insert the paper ticket as you see on the left. Make sure that when you do insert it, you hear kind of like a click noise, and it's just meaning that it's stamping the ticket, and you should see a stamp with a time and a date on there. And that lets us know that this ticket has been used and you are now able to use it on a bus or a train. Next slide, please. Okay, and then finally the last option here is mobile ticketing, which we've seen actually it's more popular now that people are wanting to just use their phone, and maybe they just don't want to handle paper fare and you know, lose them, or even so it's just offers a lot of flexibility, which I'll explain here in just a moment. But again, we're seeing more and more people are using this option. So through the mobile ticket app, you would simply go into either your Android or your Apple phone and go ahead and download the RTD Mobile Tickets app. And it would look like what you see on the right-hand side there, just a red RTD square. It says RTD Mobile Tickets. Once you've downloaded it, set it up, and inserted a payment option or a credit card, then you're ready to go ahead and start purchasing your tickets. You could purchase a 3-hour pass, as I mentioned before, good for 3 hours in any direction. And you can purchase day as well as monthly passes through here. There is a mobile wallet, as we call it, in this app. And so you could pre-purchase tickets for future use and then activate those tickets as you ride. Or you can purchase a ticket the day of. And so I've said before that you could I've seen it where people are on the platform, they go ahead and they buy their ticket and they jump on the train, and they've done it on the fly just before they've taken their trip. One thing to note, that if you do purchase tickets in advance, pre-purchase tickets, they do expire 45 days after the purchase, even if they are not used. Also want to mention that once you do activate a ticket for use, it does expire at 2:59 a.m. the following day. So if you have a ticket that, say, you activated at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, it would expire at 2:59 that next morning. Or say you activated at 8 in the morning, it would still expire at 2:59 a.m. that next morning. That wouldn't be the case, of course, for the 3-hour pass, because that's only good for the 3 hours. So users, again, do have to activate their ticket before boarding and on the bus or train, and it would display on the ticket itself that it's valid. So it's say validated, and the operators and fare inspectors would know that you've paid for your fare, and it's ready to go. So the activated ticket does have a timestamp on it, and it also has an ability to prevent any fraud. So we know that a ticket's been validated, it's been used, and there isn't a way you can really take a screenshot of it. We have a way of knowing that it's an actual valid ticket. Next slide, please. All right, so another app that I like to recommend is the Transit Watch app. This app is available for free also on your Android or Apple app store. And this is a great way to be in touch with RTD security team. It's available 24/7. So a lot of folks don't know that RTD does have its own transit police. We have our own police officers. We also have a team of security guards that patrol our stations. They ride our trains and buses. They do check fare, but they also are very helpful in any instance. So when you might need help answering questions, etc. But a good way to get in touch with them if you need to is through the Transit Watch app, and you can see just what that screen looks like on the right hand side. You can report things as simple as it's a trip hazard or slip hazard, a bag that's been misplaced or it's been sitting there and looks abandoned, or if somebody is actually doing something that it looks suspicious, or it looks like, or even if you're just feeling like, hey, you know, I don't feel comfortable here, I think that something might happen, so I'd like to speak to somebody on security to you know, talk it through. So you could upload photos, you could send messages, and you can also ask to be contacted by our transit police or remain anonymous. You can also call the transit police through this app directly. If you don't want to download this app, you can simply just take down our number here. There are good resources to have. You can call us, the number's here on the screen. You can text our transit police as well, and somebody's always monitoring that text line 24/7, or you can email us at transitwatch@rtd-denver.com. Next slide, please. All right, so now I'm going to go through a little bit about our Park-n-Rides, and we have not all of our stations have Park-n-Rides. Some of them are just drop-off only. So I recommend that before you do go, you take a look at our website, you decide where you want to travel from, and if you wanted to drive to a station and park, you'll see a list of our Park-n-Rides on our website. If your car is registered to the RTD district, and the RTD district is pretty big, so the chances are that you are within district, then it's free to park at any Park-n-Ride for the first 24 hours. Anytime after that, it's $2 per day to park at the Park-n-Ride. If your car is not registered within the RTD district, say you live all the way in Castle Rock or somewhere south, it would be $4 per day to park at an RTD station. You don't get that first 24 hours for free. It's just automatically $4 per day. So before you go and park and leave your vehicle, and if you're not sure whether or not you are within the district or just outside of the district, I would recommend you go to the parking machine that you see here on the right hand side. You would put in your license plate number, and it would tell you whether or not you're in district. I will share that the district is in certain areas shaped a little bit oddly because you know, just the lines of the district. And so there may be times, and this has happened to me, where a family member lived just 3 houses outside of the district, and they had presumed they were in the district, and it wasn't the case. So there were fees that they were supposed to be paying. So if a vehicle is parked there, you can leave your vehicle there continuously for no more than 30 consecutive days. And again, you would pay via the mobile station here. There's also an app for this as well, and the app information is posted on the pay station. And the app is a good way to go, because if, say, you wanted to stay longer and you realize, okay, you needed to add or pay for 3 more days, you can do that through the app and you are set. When you do pay for your ticket, it will dispense a little, when you do pay for parking, it will dispense a ticket, and it'll have the time and the date on there. I do recommend that you do not place it on your dashboard. It's not necessary. We actually just go by the license plate numbers, because you are going to put that into the machine when you purchase your parking. But if you leave it on your dashboard, people will know, okay, this car is going to be left here for 5 days. No one's going to return for 5 days. So there is that potential for theft or other things to go on. So I don't recommend you do it, just out of caution. And let's see, I think the last thing I would mention is there are some parking lots that are managed by the local cities or jurisdictions, and they would have their own fees for parking there. And they typically aren't as low as $2 a day or $4 a day. I think, for example, there's some in Aurora that the city of Aurora manages, because they built the parking lot. And so their fees would be completely different. And that's why I just recommend that you would check out the RTD website before you go, to know if it is indeed a RTD managed lot, and you can know what to expect. Next slide, please. All right, let's get into some trip planning and how you would know where you're going and what are the options. So one of the best ways to do it is just visit rtd-denver.com and select the trip planner. As you can see there on the screen, that's kind of a screenshot of what it would look like. Very simple. You would just, step one, add where you're starting from. It could be a stop, a station, an actual address, or even a landmark like Broncos Stadium. And then you would select your endpoint or where you want to go. And then it would ask you for options on the right-hand side. You can see where it says edit. You can say, okay, I want to walk and use transit. I want to drive and use transit, or even bike and use transit, and it would give you some options. If you're not able to get to the website, say you're out and about, you can always call RTD Customer Care for assistance. So that number is 303-299-6000, and our agents are very good about planning or helping you plan a trip. They're able to look at the schedule, look at what's going on with the services at that moment. If, for example, there's some adjustments to the service or delays, they can assist with answering your questions. So that's another good way to go. So trip planning is available on some mobile apps, and I'll show you what those look like in just a second, but the mobile apps are either available via RTD or third-party developers. Next slide, please. These are the apps that I was just talking about, and so these are three really good options that we like to recommend. On the left there is the RTD Trip Planner app, which works very similar to what the website looks like. You plug in your destination and it'll give you what's coming up as far as the routes available in the area. The middle one there is Google Maps, and I think many of us are pretty familiar with that. You can use that either in an app or on your desktop computer. And what you would do is just open it up and select public transit. So you'll see there in the red circle, it looks like a little train, and I think the default's usually your car, so you just make sure you move it over to train, and it'll pop up the various options that are around you. It uses GPS, so it would pick up what is available in the area and pick up the schedule. We do feed over the schedule, and so it would display that for you as far as options. And then another one is transit. And transit, again, does use GPS, and it also uses information from other transit app users. So if I'm taking a ride and I've mapped something out and I'm taking the W line, it actually follows me using GPS and knows that if my train is running a little bit late, it will convey that to other riders that are looking to take that very same route and let them know, hey, this one's running maybe just a minute behind. And so it updates that information live, and you'll see that where it says 4 minutes. It's fairly accurate because it does use not only GPS, but a combination of GPS and rider information from other app users. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to go through some of the local routes and options you have available to you. We've got the Route 228 from Louisville and through Broomfield. And what you'll see here is you've got some major stations along the way, as well as help connect you to other routes. Along US 36, I'll point out it's a little small on the map, so I'll read it out here for you. But along US 36 and also along the Route 228, there's the US 36 and McCaslin Station, where you can connect to the Flatiron Flyer, the AB to the airport, the Louisville Flex Ride, and the Superior Flex Ride. And I think if I could see this all right, further down the way, you've got the US 36 and Broomfield Station that the Route 228 does also travel to, and you've got some more options to connect to a variety of other RTD services, including the Broomfield Flex Ride, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. So again, if you want to see the full schedules, visit rtd-denver.com/schedules, and I will point out that right now we are looking at all of our routes. As COVID has come in, we have adjusted our routes because we are not receiving the same amount of ridership. So it's important that I would suggest highly that you check out our website before you go, because we are looking at making some adjustments to our services as we move things to the areas where they're most in demand. So there'll be some adjustments likely to the Route 228. Next slide, please. All right, so here is the jump, and that is from Erie to downtown Boulder via Arapahoe, and very much a straight shot here. But in downtown Boulder, this would go to the downtown Boulder RTD station, where again you can get the Flatiron Flyer, which would take you down US 36 and to Denver Union Station. It would give you options to get onto other routes like the Hop and the Bolt and the Dash. And then on the very other end, you also have some the Lafayette Park-n-Ride, where again you can catch other routes like the 225, which I just mentioned, the LD and the LDS. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so we've got the the AB1, AB2, and ABX, and this is a route that goes from Boulder, and as you can see, travels through your area and would take you over to DIA. There is it's kind of an express route, so you wouldn't have the regular stops that you would have on regional or local bus route. And it's a really good option for you to get down to the airport. You would use the airport pass or the airport fee or fare to get to the airport, but again, it's a very good route that I think is a very nice option. It travels over E470, so it's as direct a shot you could get down to the airport. Just really quick, I do want to mention that there's a key on all of these on the right-hand side, so you'll see that on this particular map, there's routing for the AB1 within Boulder, and there's also routing for the AB2. You definitely want to check that out before you go to see which one of the two is the route that you're planning on going on, because I know that I have heard some questions on this, and that could be a little confusing for folks, so definitely map it out. If you are still confused on what line you should be taking, check out our website or make sure you call our customer care, and they'll be more than happy to help you map it out. Next slide, please. All right, I mentioned the FlexRide earlier, and that's a very good option for your area that is a little different than our buses and our rails. This provides a good option for commuters for that first and last mile connection from any one of our RTD services like buses and trains and at our stations. These are available in a variety of different areas throughout our district. We have 21 FlexRide service areas, and the cost is that of a local fare, or if you're using it as the last leg of a trip or extension of a trip, you can use that as well. Anyone completing a trip outside of their local zone will need to upgrade the fare. So if you've already gone through the 2 fare zones to be considered local, and this is the last leg of your trip, you will need to pay for that upgrade. I've got just a quick map here to show what that service area looks like, and really the way it works is anything in that gray zone is something that you can travel to. So a good connecting points would be at RTD stations, for example, the US 36 and McCaslin station that I mentioned, and that's over at Gate H that the FlexRide will pull up to. Also at the US 36 and Flatiron station. And again, you would just hop on board, tell the driver, hey, look, I want to go to the library, I want to go to this particular address, which is the grocery store, and they would be able to take you there. Again, very different than a bus, which has a fixed route. The FlexRide has the flexibility of taking you to the actual individual locations that you're interested in. Next slide, please. And here's the Flatiron Flyer, which I mentioned earlier, and these are the bright blue buses that you would notice traveling up US 36. They travel between Denver, Westminster, Broomfield, Louisville, Superior, and Boulder. The weekday service is offered at every 15 minutes, and the Flatiron Flyer, like I mentioned, travels down US 36 using the express lanes. So it's a really good option. It's really flexible, and it's actually very, very efficient. So while other vehicles might be trapped on US 36 in traffic, you would have the luxury of riding in these nice coach buses. I've got a couple of pictures there of what you can expect, but they're comfortable seats, they recline, there are ports for you to plug in your laptops and cell phones for charging, and you can also take your bikes. There's plenty of room underneath to put your bikes or put something big like a piece of luggage if you're deciding to travel. So again, it's a very popular service. We just before COVID, we were seeing that these were standing room only bus trips, and even now we still see that they're still utilized. So a very good option if you want to go downtown. Next slide, please. All right, we do have other vehicles as well, which are the commuter rail vehicles and light rail. There are two different types of trains that we have within our service. The commuter rail on the right-hand side there is a larger vehicle that is more for longer distances. So something from, say, downtown to the airport, that's a fairly long distance. I think it's about 35 miles, 37 miles. And so the train would need to cover that ground in a faster vehicle with fewer stations in between to make that kind of schedule. There are larger capacities on commuter rail vehicles, and they do have level boarding. So if you do have luggage, you would be able to wheel that onto the train without having to go up any steps. The rail lines that use commuter rail train vehicles are the University of Colorado A line to the airport, the B line to Westminster, the G line between downtown Denver and Arvada, and now the new N line, which just recently opened from downtown Denver to Thornton. We also have the light rail vehicles there on the right-hand side, and these are our smaller vehicles. They are better suited for operating in smaller, crowded areas and narrow streets. I think kind of trolley when I see these, and they operate mostly downtown. They have more frequent stops. They don't travel as quick of a speed, but again, they're more smaller and agile because they can pivot around smaller corners there. They do have stairs to board, and so every door would have some steps that you have to come up unless you're using the ramp, which is located at the front of where the train would pull in normally. So if you are in need of a ramp, you could go up to the ramp. Again, just look at where the front of the vehicle would be, and you can access the train that way. Our operators are more than happy to help you as well. They would open the doors, pull out the rest of the ramp that's in the vehicle, and assist you with that. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an aerial view of Denver Union Station. So now that you've planned your trip, you've decided what vehicle you're going to be traveling on, and you've paid for your parking, and you've jumped on your bus or train, and you go to downtown, this is what you can expect if you haven't been there in a while. We have done quite a bit of work down there, and it has had quite a bit of development. So this is, again, an aerial view just to orientate you where you're at. The left-hand side, you'll see a light blue line next to a purple line. That is the east side of Union Station, or at least the track concourse, and it is closest to the main Union Station building. And then on the right-hand side, you will see the green line, which is the B line, the yellow line, which is the G line, and that is on the west side. Down the middle in red, you'll see the Amtrak trains that would pull in. On this map, it's a little bit older, but the N line is still dotted because it was still not in service, but it is in service now, so that's where you would pick up the N line. Next slide, please. All right, located right below all those tracks that I just showed you is the Union Station bus concourse, and you'll see that there are 22 gates in the bus concourse. So there's a couple ways you could get down there. There's an escalator located closest to the Union Station building between the University of Colorado A-line tracks and the building. There's also a series of elevators that can get you down there. And this spans, I'd say, about a block between that Union Station building over to Chestnut Street and what we call the Chestnut Pavilion. So above ground, what you would see is on the left-hand side there, again, Union Station building, and then the University of Colorado A-Line tracks. And then on the very right-hand side, you would be, again, close to Chestnut Street, and that would be, if you're coming up the escalators, you would see the light rail vehicles right in front of you. This is all orientated in kind of like a clockwork fashion, so you can see that the gate 1, 2, and 3 goes all the way around and kind of does like a clockwise loop around the station. There are 7 skylights all along this concourse. Because it is underground, it does pull in that natural light from the outside, and it is, of course, heated down there. There is Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi Xfinity, free Wi-Fi down there, and public restrooms located, and it's closest to the Chestnut side, the Chestnut Pavilion there on the western side. This is recently we just received word that Greyhound will also be using this. I think, in fact, they actually started last week. And so that replaces the previous Greyhound facility, which was around California and I think 20th. They've closed that down and they're now servicing out of the Union Station bus concourse. Next slide, please. Okay, so once you've come down to Union Station and say you want to go further down the 16th Street Mall or take a look around, you have a couple of options. The first one is the red free MallRide machine there that you see, and this travels along 16th Street Mall, and that is, it'll travel between Union Station and on one end and take you all the way to the Civic Center station, and it'll stop every block in between, so you have an ability to just hop on and hop off as you like when you want to get to your destination, or if you see something that you, a shop or a restaurant that you want to see along the way. This does operate 7 days a week, and there is a schedule that the frequency does change throughout the week versus what's available on the weekend. So if you're curious, take a look at our website on what that schedule looks like. And then on the right-hand side is another option. I will say that it is not currently in service because of the changes to ridership during COVID. We are not seeing as many people traveling to the central business district these days, so the free MetroRide there on the right-hand side has not had the ridership, and so it's not currently operating. We hope to have that back up and running soon when everybody does start coming back to downtown. And it does travel between, it travels on 18th and 19th Street between Union Station and Civic Center Station. It's a good second option if you're wanting to travel those areas and get down 18th and 19th Street. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the routes that of the both buses that I was just mentioning. So the 16th Street free MallRide, which is the red vehicle, would travel down that purple strip down the middle, and that's the one that's currently in service. The free MetroRide would take the route there of that greenish teal route up above, and as I mentioned, it travels down 18th Street in one direction and then down 19th Street in the other direction. It does have a longer or larger bus for capacity because we were seeing that quite a few people were traveling as they were getting out of work or during lunch, and it does stop fewer and fewer spots. So it doesn't not stop every block, but it also gets you down from one end of the 18th and 19th Street to the other in fairly quick fashion. Next slide, please. Okay, it looks like we've come to the end of our slides and our presentation, and I really would like to hear if you have any questions or anything I need to clarify. I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. If you do have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat or just feel free to unmute your mic, and we're happy to help answer those questions. I appreciate Christina for that presentation. So yeah, feel free to either chat it in or just unmute your mic. I'm happy to help. Any questions that you have about RTD, or if you had any questions about the regional other transportation routes or infrastructure within the area that we talked about earlier.
Okay, well, while we're waiting for questions, I can certainly add some more information that wasn't in the slides. You might have heard that recently we have opened the RTD N line, and that is a new commuter rail service that goes from downtown Union Station through City of Commerce, through North Glen and Thornton. And again, it's a really good way to connect north and south through that area. There is also a stop at the National Western Stock Show. We did do something different as we open this line. We have a fare pilot that's going on right now, and the fare pilot is that normally if you were riding from one end of the N line to the other, it would be a regional pass as we discussed because of the distance. But the fare pilot that we have going through March 27th of next year is that the entirety of the line to ride it is just simply the price of a local fare. So if you're just curious and want to see what the N line looks like, see what shops and sites are along the way, I think that from now till at least March 27th of next year is a good time to go. If you're taking a couple people with you, you're able to take advantage of that local fare, that pilot that we have going. After the pilot is over, the board of directors at RTD will make a decision as to whether they want to extend it. They're going to be looking at data to inform them on whether or not it does make sense, and then we'll go from there. So we don't know yet if it is going to be extended, but like I mentioned, you have till March 27th of next year to take advantage of that local fare pilot. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in just yet.
Maybe we can wait like 30 seconds or a minute more. Feel free, if you do have questions, feel free to unmute your mic. Happy to help that way, or feel free to just leave your questions in the chat. We can ask a question about anything that Christina talked about, or if you just had a question about something else that we didn't cover within the presentation, happy to help.
Well, while we're waiting, I'll plug our current service change meetings. I mentioned them during the presentation that we've got some service changes underway, and we're looking at what we're going to do with our service. We do these changes 3 times a year, but this service change is going to be a little bit different this time because we're currently operating at what we call the COVID-19 service plan, and that is 60% of our regular service level. Because we just aren't having that ridership as we had before, we're not carrying as many people to the central business district, but we are seeing that there's certain spots where we are seeing riders that still was happening during the pandemic. So based on our research, we do know that it's people who this was an essential service for them, or they were essential workers still taking our services. So what we're doing is shifting that 60% of service that we're using right now to the areas where we've noticed that people are still going to need it, that there's a demand for it. But that means that we are going to make some changes to our existing network. And so if you're curious on what that's going to look like, take a look at our website. We've got our next meeting is actually going to be Saturday, I believe at 10. It's just going to be a presentation on what those services look like. And then we have a Facebook Live on Monday at noon. And you can look at RTD's Facebook page if you want to participate in that.
Well, wonderful. Thank you for that update, Christina. I think since we don't have any other questions, I can just close it on out with our few final slides here.
I just wanted
to oh, yeah.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you very much. That helped a lot. It was very informative.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And also, we just have some information here from Commuting Solutions. So we have our website and our social handles. if you'd like to follow us or if you'd like some more information about commuting options within the region. And then also included my contact information. So if you do have questions about any type of commuting options in the region, please feel free to reach out and let me know if you have any questions. Happy to help. I just wanted to thank Christina from RTD for giving that great presentation, and then also wanted to thank our sponsors and partners, the City of Louisville and the Town of Superior. And thank you all for coming, and we really appreciate your time. Have a nice night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.